welcome to ADRA Asia's podcast, While on Earth.
Happy, efficient, and productive.
I'm very passionate about young people.
Currently leading the disaster risk management unit department.
Overnight is a long process.
Hello everyone, welcome to While on Earth, the podcast run by ADRA Asia, and I work for ADRA Asia. Today we have Levy in the studio with us. Levy, who are you?
Well, I'm Levy Gutierrez. I work for ADRA Philippines. I'm the programs manager of ADRA Philippines.
Right, so if someone were to take your passport and look at your name, it would say Geraldina Gutierrez. How come you got to be called Levy?
Do I need to explain to them? Well, that's my preference. I want to be called Levy. Then I will tell them I want to be called Levy.
Right, right. How long have you been with ADRA, Levy?
I've been in ADRA for 9 years.
Right, wow, so that's a long time, isn't
Yeah.
it? And what's your experience before that?
Well, before ADRA, I work with several NGOs. Like I work with Amnesty International. I work with Save the Children. Also, yes, before coming to ADRA, I work with those organizations.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us, Levy, what are you passionate about?
Well, I'm passionate about a lot of things. Like I'm passionate on social justice, community development, things like that.
Right, so if you would pick one, which one would it be?
Well, of course, community development. I want to empower people, to empower communities, things like that.
So when we say community development, what do you actually mean by it? Like for someone who has not heard this term before, how would you explain it?
Well, community development is making people enjoy life to the fullest and enjoy their rights as a people.
Right. So every community would not define happiness or fullness of life in the same way, right?
Yes.
So this becomes a bit tricky now, right? So how do you go about identifying this? How do you go about how they define this happiness or fullness of life? How would you go about identifying it?
Well, all of us, we have different definition of happiness, fulfillment, things like that. It depends on, people. And of course, in the community, if you put it in the community, they have this kind of different definition of happiness. Well, for a simple community that we work with, a lot of them will feel that when they have this kind of very basic necessities in life, like they have shelter, they have food, they are happy. So it's different from every community that I work, different from the context of every community that we work with. For the Philippines, it's always the people enjoy life as, because the Filipino people are more, family-oriented. So their concept of happiness is about their family. Being a family, enjoy, like they have good education for their children. They are happy if they have food to eat on the table. Things like that. That's their concept of happiness.
Happiness, right. So I imagine when you go about doing this work, you may encounter challenges, right? So what are some of the challenges, or I would say roadblocks to community development?
Well, for community development, it's usually, they have this kind of perception. Like, it has to be like, when you go to the community and talk to the people, they will always tell you, well, how can we develop if we don't have this kind of knowledge, this kind of environment where we can enjoy life to the fullest, or we can have this kind of people that can help us go through with it, because life is hard. So, you know, when we had the discussion yesterday with our speaker, and she told us about, when you do community development, start with what people have. Start with what people know, right? Things like that. It's the same. When you go to the community, you cannot expect anything that they, you know, it's magic, no? You can have it start with what they know in the community, what capacities they have in the community, and you can start developing that. And a lot of the communities has vulnerabilities compared to capacities.
Right.
So you can start with their capacities. Even if it's a low capacity, then you can start with that. You cannot even dictate them what is your concept of community development. Don't do that. Because when you do that, you're just feeding them what
You're projecting your...
Yeah, you're projecting what your concept.
So, Levy, we were talking about roadblocks to development, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of roadblocks in the development, because when you see community development, it's not an overnight thing. It's a long process, and it's not like you bring project to the community and the problem of the community is solved. It's not like that. No, there's a lot of different roadblocks when you do community development, because you have to know the dynamics of the people, know the culture of the people, and everything. You have to factor that in your community development. And of course, enabling environment is also important when doing community development. Well, in my experience, there are lots of roadblocks, like when you do projects with the community, sometimes they are not into it. They are not interested into it.
They don't see value in engaging.
There's no value in it. So, and of course, in the governance, no, when you go to the community and you ask them to participate in a certain project, and they will tell you what gain I can get to that if I participate in your project. I have a lot things to do. I have livelihood. I cannot participate in the meeting and all the trainings that you will give us. No, things like that. It's a roadblock. And of course, government. Yeah, of course, you are in a community. They have this structure, governance structures, and sometimes when you bring project to them, it has to go to a lot of bureaucratic, things that you cannot implement development programs in these communities. So those are roadblocks. And other things are, most people doesn't know their rights, like farmers, or it could be urban poor community, or informal sector, or any sector. They doesn't know their rights as a people. So you really have to start preparing them, preparing the community, and know something about the community so that you can, tailor fit your community development programs.
Right. So since you've been actually engaged in this sector for quite some time now, do you have any success story? Any success story that comes to your mind that you can share with us today?
Well, success story in the sense that, when we do this evaluation in the community, and they tell the story about, in our programming, we have this outcome harvesting in our development programming. So when these people speaks, like when we have this project in the community, disaster and climate governance, wherein we empower association, farmers association, women association, and when they talk about confidence, and they share their learnings on how they engaging their government in disaster and climate governance. Is very a success, success story for the programs. As a program people, we know that because of this exposure of this community organization or civil society organization, then they have this confidence in their local government. They can ask for a better programs because we train them and we give them this kind of project that really, help them to be confident and ask for the government what is for them, what's really the programs that they have to receive as a people.
Wow, so then that actually becomes much more sustainable, right?
Yes.
For people to connect with their government and to
Yes, because
work it out.
ADRA cannot development NGOs cannot stay longer in the community. It's if you empower those people, then it's really there's a sustainability for it.
Wow, so for our viewers, Levy works for ADRA Philippines, and I think if you visit ADRA Philippines Facebook page and website, you can get a lot of updates, and they're actually one of the officers that are very strong in actually promoting the work that they do on social media, right?
Yes.
So they could join in, they could actually follow you on social media.
Please
right?
follow us on our social media page.
So Levy, the last question. If you had a superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
Well, superpower, I think I can be like the superpower that I can ask or I could, request if I have that kind. Well, it's, to influence. Influence, like, we have different personalities that have this contagious influence to the people, right? And if I have to get that superpower, it is the power to influence many people.
And you can use it for community development as
Yes,
well, right?
and I can use it in community development.
Right. Thank you very much, Levy, for taking time to being here with us to talk about what you're passionate about.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much to all our viewers for joining the show today. We will have another interesting episode soon. If you have any questions, if you have any opinions about what has been discussed, please share it with us and let us know what you want us to discuss as well. Until the next episode, goodbye.